Hi everyone, welcome to this episode of the More in You podcast. I am so excited that we're having this again today, and I have another phenomenal guest in the house. I'm going to be introducing her in a minute, but I want to say to you, if you want to grab a cup of coffee, if you want to grab a cup of tea, if you want to invite some friends to listen with you at this time, that would be awesome. So go grab your friends and let's get into this conversation. Okay, I'm going to introduce my phenomenal guest. Are we ready?
Yeah.
I want to welcome Temitope Falade Aderibigbe to this awesome conversation today. Welcome.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
How do you feel being here?
It's a privilege, and I really appreciate this. And, I really look forward to being able to speak, to help someone, and to meet someone at the very point of their need, what they actually need to hear, and the Holy Spirit to guide us exactly in that direction.
And I am so excited to have you. I'm so excited. But before we get into the conversation, we'll mention our topic in a minute, but I want to read her bio to you, because her bio is going to tell you what we're going to talk about. Kind of, we're talking about our topic. So Temitope is a growth trigger and ideator with a mission to help young ladies evolve from a place of limitations into a realm of possibilities. She has great brainstorming and accountability skills, which positions her to effectively push young ladies to scale up and go for their dreams. I love that. She is the co-founder of DT Think Tank, where she helps busy executives launch their social impact ideas. She is the host of Mother's Haven, where she plays her unique role in creating awareness and providing guidance to handling postpartum blues and depression. She is soon scaling up to cater to issues bothering new moms. She is the host of Carrie Space podcast, now Mother's Haven podcast, which is a place of rest for women to find help, hope, and a pathway to healing. She's a public health pharmacist that ensures medication availability and safety while ensuring facilities provide impeccable pharmaceutical care. And she is a wife and a mom to an amazingly intelligent daughter. Please make welcome to our studio again today, Temitope Falade Aderibigbe. Everybody give it up for her.
Thank you so much for the warm welcome.
Thank you. Thank you so much for being on the podcast today. I am so excited to have you here. I'm so excited. So today we're talking about the topic growth, a pathway to possibilities, or a pathway for possibilities. And you're a growth trigger. So as I was thinking of that topic, I just said, no, who am I going to bring in? I'm so passionate about growth because I believe that it's a way that we move from one level to another. So, but before we get into all of that, we're going to ask you to talk about, let's talk about you for a little bit. I've read that bio. I always love to read bios. So informally, who would you say you are?
Okay, I would say Temitope is someone who loves to help people, who loves to show care, and who loves to support them to bring out the best of who they really are. So I could do this via finding out what you can do to be a better version of yourself, which is definitely via growth. I could do this by finding out your pain points and see how I can support or point you in the direction of the support that you need. And I can also do this by just even being a listening ear, because I find that sometimes all people need is someone to listen to them. So basically that's who I am. I'm a daughter of God. Yeah.
I know, that's powerful. Thank you for sharing that. And truly, a lot of people just want a listening ears, but sometimes we're just doing our own talking as well while they're even trying to talk to us. Thanks for sharing that. Or sometimes we even listen to respond. That's another thing. So you're not really understanding what they're saying. They're just waiting for them to finish.
And then just say what is in your mind or your own.
What is in your mind? Yeah. Thank you for sharing that. And can you tell us 2 fun facts about you? Maybe there are things that we don't know already.
Oh, okay. So I love watching movies. So
Okay.
I watch movies to unwind and two fun facts. Like it. Okay. Okay. So I actually finished school at a very young age. I finished before 20.
Wow.
And yes, and I read pharmacy. So that's something.
And you still finished before 20?
Yes.
Wow. That's phenomenal. Because even people that did 4-year courses to finish before 20 is one thing. To now do pharmacy, which is like 6 years, isn't it? And still finish before 20. Wow. I give it up to you.
Thank you. And I didn't even get into school immediately. I still had to do like a remedial course before I now got to school.
Wow.
I finished secondary school, I think at 12. Yes.
Okay. Now it's making sense. It's like, okay. Wow. That's phenomenal. Wow. So somebody be encouraged. You can do it. Because there might be a listener that is thinking, you never know. And that might be an encouragement for somebody. And even if you're because somebody might be listening and saying, oh, really? Is that possible? But now you know it's possible because she's sharing it with us. Oh, wow. Thanks for sharing that with us. So we're talking about growth. How would you say your journey of growth really started?
Okay, so, well, obviously, physical growth has been obvious, but I would focus more on my intellectual growth.
Yeah, let's kind of talk here, like personal growth is
personal growth. So I became very intentional about my personal growth. I think around December of 2020, I actually intercepted a program, and I think it was for 28 days. Like every day, you're listening to like a podcast consistently for 28 days, and I was actually very consistent about it. And after that, like I experienced transformation, and I made up my mind that I would never be the woman I was before that program. And then afterwards, I gave myself into intense knowledge search. When I mean intense knowledge search, it means I enrolled for a lot of courses. And I didn't do it all at once. And I actually discovered that I grew through the course ranks, in the sense that, for example, if I'll use Naira as a currency now. So if the very first course I paid for was 15,000. And as at then, let's say my income was like less than 150,000. Based on what I had learned and applied, by the following year, I had gotten another job, and my income had almost tripled.
Wow.
Now, I continued that process in the sense that I kept on going for more courses and more courses. And of course, they were more expensive, but I really didn't mind the cost because I could see the value that I was getting from it. Now, the job I had was a very comfortable one, where my house was not far from the office. Just strolling, come back, take care of my daughter, life goes on. And basically, if you're not someone who is drawn to really becoming more, you will actually be very, very comfortable with that life. Because really, you have a husband who's comfortable financially. You may not completely spend your salary, and you also have alternate sources of support that come in. So, but at that point, I got to a phase in my life where I would say I really wanted more, and I went for that more. So that was how my personal growth journey started. Now, in the process of this growth, I began to see the lapses or the needs of other ladies around me. I began to see that other, even younger women could not see that more that they needed to see. I could also see that my colleagues or people even older than me that were my friends were also kind of satisfied with where they were.
They were
Satisfied complaining about where they were without intentionally finding solutions to that space. So most of the complaints that I got was, I don't even have time to develop myself. So this is why that's number one bias that I see that we have. Because the truth is, if you're not intentional about creating this time for your growth, you will never be able to actualize it. And what you don't desire, what you don't pursue, you cannot achieve. So for me, I already developed that interest via the transformation I experienced from that program. So for someone else, you could encounter transformation through the life of someone else. For example, Aramide, who Google her online, she's 22 now. She's also into social impact, helping children find very good schools that can care for them, people who would, on a normal day, would not have access to education. And immediately she finished, I think at Providence University, I'm not quite sure, but immediately she finished her university education, she sourced for funds and she was able to get admission to Harvard, crowdfunded her fees, and today she's a delighted graduate of Harvard. And she's still continuing her work in Nigeria, Talent Mind Academy, helping other children to find education, to find purpose. And she also mentors other teenage girls. She's also even married now, and she's 22. So this tells you that age is not an excuse for not desiring more.
Love that. You said a few things that I'm gonna become, the way you even started, because imagine if you had just stayed at that your job. And that is why I was sharing, I think it was today kind of, I was sharing on the thing I do, Intentional Monday, I was talking about growth. And I said people always assume that we're going to automatically grow. But I remember when I was reading John C. Maxwell's book, and he said, if you are going to grow, if you're going to have to grow, you're going to have to be intentional. People just think that the same way I grow from being a child to being an adult is going to automatically happen. So imagine if you had stayed at that your job, and then now going from that place in like a year to almost 3 times your pay, just because you were ready to put in the work. Because I was saying in that video, I said, you're going to have to commit to putting in the work. Nobody will do it. So some of us, and there was something I wanted to talk about. You mentioned time. A lot of people use that excuse a lot. Oh, I don't have. So I want us to please speak to somebody that's saying, how do I intentionally find time? Because I hear that a lot. Oh, but I don't have time.
Well, my advice would be they should get what I would describe as a structure coach. So someone who will help you sit down and arrange your 24 hours. When I mean arrange, I mean you first of all audit your day, you audit your week. You know where your time actually goes to. Because in as much as we tend to say, okay, we do a lot at work, your work is mostly 8 to 5. Most of the time, we now carry some of this work home, which in some cases is quite understandable. But times where you even carry your work home, it's important for you to prioritize. It's important for you to know that 1 hour every day is my own. It's not being paid by my salary. It is my 1 hour for me to become more than who I normally am. And you have to stay consistent about it. That's where the atomic habit comes. If you've read the book,
The book Atomic Habits.
Yes, the book Atomic. Consistently doing the same thing over and over and over again. You can start with 30 minutes, especially if you're not someone who is given to gathering knowledge or to acquiring knowledge. So another thing I would say is, don't be stereotyped. Fine, we say, okay, read books. You cannot escape reading books. But at the start, if you're not someone that is given to reading books, find podcasts like this that you're listening to now that you can listen to empower you, to build your mind. Because there's something about the power of the mind. There's something about the power of the conscious. So once you consistently tell yourself that you can do it, you can give yourself intentionally to growth. You can give yourself intentionally to acquiring knowledge, and you can give yourself intentionally to applying knowledge.
Not just acquiring.
Yes, not just acquiring. Because you'll meet a lot of people who have read books. Who can tell you things in books, but their lives are not testimonials of that knowledge that they have acquired. Why? Because they have not applied what they have gotten. A colleague of mine was asking me that the people that sell books, okay, for listeners in Nigeria, we know that certain people hawk books in traffic. Even those who sit and sell books in bookshop, how many of these people actually utilize the power of the wisdom that they are surrounded by?
So sad.
The time you sit to sell, how many of you use that time? I keep saying that there are so many security men who have transformed to become professionals. There are so many security men who have become IT professionals now. In short, in my organization now, we had someone who was a driver that is currently in an associate position.
Wow.
So it just tells us that it doesn't really matter where you are, what level you are currently. It's just a matter of having the desire to change your season, to change your phase. The same thing applies to your finances. You cannot just sit down and relax that I only earn so amount of money. And because I earn a very small amount of money, I cannot achieve financial freedom. You have already missed it because you have a wrong mindset. So the first thing is to correct your mindset and then begin to now apply the things you need to do to be able to achieve that freedom that you desire, to be able to achieve that life that you desire. But you cannot achieve any of this if you do not even desire it in the first place. So we cannot remove the place of desiring
desire.
Yes, before you can now even begin your journey to growth. Before you can now begin to apply the various pillars that are involved in achieving those goals that you actually desire. So basically, to answer your question about time, it just means you have to be intentional. Audit your day. How do I spend my hours? When I was working in the job I talked about, immediately I come back from work, I just get on my phone and watch movies. Basically, I can spend hours watching movies because I cook in bulk, so I won't really spend a lot of time.
So you don't have to cook every day.
No, I didn't have to cook every day. So most of the time, movies. I go to work, come back, movies. Go to church, come back, movies, and life went on and on. So most of the time, especially as mothers, we tend to see that, okay, we have the first baby, the second baby, the third baby, and then we're taking care of the children, we're helping them with after school work and everything. We are still feeling busy until it now dawns. Until we now begin to find fulfillment. Sometimes it's when the children have grown and have left the house that it now dawns on some mother that, oh my God.
They say, where did my life go?
And they begin to blame the innocent children.
Children that didn't know anything. Wow.
So that's why I keep saying I would never have to blame my child. I would never want to be in a position where I blame my child for not fulfilling my dreams. Never. So have your dreams, go after it. You will definitely pay sacrifices as a mother. It's natural. You will pay, but you will enjoy the sacrifices and you will still fulfill your dreams. Because why? We have so many examples of people who have gone ahead of you that you can look up to as models to achieve what you actually desire, to achieve that possible life. But you can't get there if you're not intentional about your time today, because there's something called time wealth. And there are so many things that people can do for you in exchange for your time. Because that's another thing I think I would just want to touch on a bit.
Okay, please go ahead.
We tend to have this superhero mentalities as women. We want to do everything by ourselves. No one can wash our clothes as good as we do. No one can cook our
That
meals.
was my mom. I remember growing up. Nobody could cook the food as good as she could.
You need a washing machine. I am like, ma, you're own, no. Because I already made sure that I purchased my washing machine before I got married. Because I don't like stress personally.
They have made it easy. Why do you have to go through the stressful way to get it done?
Thank you. But some people would insist that they have to do it themselves. So fine, if you have the time to do it, no problem. But for those of us, or for those who are complaining that they don't have this time, while you are auditing your time, you see that you spend some of this time in the kitchen, you spend some of this time doing house chores. Which of these chores can you delegate? You have family members around, you have people you can pay to get it done. And can you increase your sources of income to be able to cover these expenses? So that's another thing. In as much as, yes, some people will say, yes, I'm ready to delegate, I'm ready to outsource, but I don't have the funds for it. And you now begin to think of how can you raise these funds? How can you use the talents and resources that you have to convert them into funds to take care of the life that you desire? And while you're doing that, remember, even if it's 10-15 minutes, the first 10-15 minutes after your prayer time, you spend to your personal development, you will see the massive transformation. Even in 3 months, you will be so impressed, and you begin to find this fulfillment in purpose, in knowing who you are. Wow. So I think I will just stop there.
Wow. I know you could just go on, because and I really can attest to that fact about time. I remember there was a time I was at this interesting job whereby it was actually a graveyard job. So I used to work at night. And so you would almost say, I came home and I just needed to go to bed because you were tired. And I remember at the time, God was putting some books for me, putting some books on my mind to write. And I remember saying, but God, I don't have the time. How do I write these books? I know you want me to write, but there's just too much going on. I'm a pastor's wife. I have a family. My children were much younger. Life was happening full-time. I said, God, it's just not possible. And I remember the Holy Spirit saying to me, yes, it is possible. But do you have the desire? Like you said earlier. So like you said, desire is so key. If you don't even desire to be more, you will remain where you are. No matter what we say from today till next year.
Exactly.
We will remain there. And I remember I was like, okay, I was open to, okay, strategies. Give me a strategy that's going to work. And I remember he said to me, okay, let's look at what you do. I used to work like 10 p.m. to 7 a.m. And then he said to me, you get home at 7:30. Make sure that you are in bed by 8 a.m. So as he was telling me, I was writing it down. Get into bed by 8 a.m. Between 8 and 1, I want you to sleep. Sleep 5 hours. You wake up, go and have and he said between 1 and 2, sit at the table and write every day, Monday to Friday. It looked like it wasn't going to be possible.
Just 1 hour.
Just 1 hour a day. He said, sit there and write. And I thought, I was saying to myself, I'm going to be tired. But guess what? I actually tried it out and it was like somebody gave me gold. 1 to 2, say when it's 2 o'clock, get up, go have a shower, go pick up the children from school. You come back, you do activities with them. And then because, he said, because now you've been awake for a couple of hours, I'm still going to work. And I said, what you now do is, at 8:30, when they go to bed, you go and have a power nap. Go and sleep a little bit. So that when you wake up for work, because I didn't start till 10:30, You are refreshed. And then I get to work as well. I can actually think and all of that. And I had that skill. I was able to write. I was amazed. I was like, I thought I didn't have the time to write. Why am I sharing that? To corroborate what you're saying, that if you have the desire to do it,
you will get it done.
You will get it done. So we always, I believe that if we just, all of us look at our peculiar schedules and just say, it might look like impossible, because at the time, working nights, your brain is even tired. But I remember every time I sat at that table to write, I was just there. 1 hour felt like I had so much time. And within a short while, the books were ready. I did that for 3 of my books. I wrote it during that season.
3 books in that season. Wow.
Which means that there's always time. When there's a desire, you can always create it to corroborate what you said. And I love how you said audit your time, because sometimes truly, I remember one day I was cooking, my son said to me in the kitchen, "Mommy, when I grow up," he's turning 19, "I'm going to have a housemaid." And I said, "What do you mean?" He said, I can't stay in the kitchen and be cooking for 4 or 5 hours. I'm not going to do that." And I laughed. He said, "Mommy, why are you laughing? You need a maid." He kept telling, "Mommy, you need a maid." I said, "Okay, I hear." But truly, he's right, because sometimes when I look at how long I'm in the kitchen, I found out that I was spending a lot of time. Sometimes I even get upset because I'm like, how can I spend 3-4 hours in the kitchen? Because you know you're doing all cooking. So you know what I began to do? I began to bring my laptop into the kitchen. I will listen to podcasts. I will listen to messages. I would, if I had to be there, I would get a book and I might read a chapter. I was doing something else. I didn't feel bad that I was wasting the time. So and so I love the way you said, because our time is so, that time is such a...
Me, I was listening to podcasts of the video courses in traffic.
Oh, that's another thing that I love to do. Automobile investing. While you are there,
I'm like, I love that.
so well, because I also drive
university.
I'm in my car so much. And so what I do is I download a lot of the audio books, because I know I don't have the time to sit down and read them per se. Exactly. I download them. I listen to them over, and the more I listen, the more it sits in there.
Yes.
So somebody saying you don't have time today, you are hearing the tips. Please. She's told us, be intentional, audit your day, audit your time, and delegation. Truly, women don't like to delegate. We don't like it. We feel like we are losing power if we delegate.
I don't know why.
But sometimes I think if we look at how much, if we don't delegate, look at how much value you're losing by you wanting to be by yourself. Is it worth it?
Yes.
Is it really worth it? So when you compare that, you're thinking no. So it might be just cheaper for you in cost to just delegate it to somebody.
You save time and energy.
Yes, and time and energy. Because even, for example, things like cooking, after cooking, you're even tired.
Extremely.
So even to think, sometimes you have to sit there for a while for you to get back to your regular self. So that's a big one. Wow, thank you for sharing that. There's a whole lot you shared in there. Another thing I wanted us to mention, because also you speak to young ladies, and I'm so inspired by, whenever I see you, I'm like, she's doing phenomenal things. She's so young. I want us to speak to young ladies, because some people feel like because of the conditioning of where they're coming from, maybe it could be through childhood, the way they grew up, it could be through what somebody has said to them, all of that, blah, 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 so many other things. They feel like they're limited and they don't see any possibilities. I want us to just kind of go there and just kind of speak to people listening.
I agree with that 100%, because most of the time when I try to speak to the ladies in my home church or any young lady around me that I get opportunity to spend time with, I hear a lot of limitations, a lot of limiting beliefs. I can't do this because of this. I can't do that because of that. But the truth is, if we dig deeper, we'll actually find out that certain times there are some self-esteem issues, certain times lack of exposure, and sometimes lack of awareness of opportunities. So these are some of the things that are responsible for young ladies or young people generally thinking the way they actually do. There was a day I was having a conversation with my colleague, and I think he was saying how a PhD holder was applying for the job of a driver and was trying to speak about how difficult the country is. And I was saying, quite all right. The country could be difficult, but the truth is, there are so many opportunities out there that you can raise funds for. So the fact that a PhD holder decided to go the route of applying for the job of a driver does not speak to how your life should go, does not speak to the pattern of which your life should go, and does not mean that you should settle for the same path. And before that conversation ended, we were able to bring out 3 different ways by which you could raise income from scratch.
Wow.
So the fact that we give excuses that we don't have funds or we don't know somebody, I'll still repeat it, it's excuses. I learned about social wealth, or let me say I was reminded about social wealth. Social wealth is basically the people you have already in your network, your contacts.
You can leverage on.
And you can leverage on. What have we done with them? A woman gave a testimony of how the security man at the NYSA in Abuja helped her to get a redeployment to Lagos from where she was the security man.
He had that ability, that connection to be able to do that.
That was all.
Wow.
Sometimes it's the cleaner. Sometimes it's the friend of a friend or your sister's friend. But so many times we just sit back and just assume that because we can't just sit right in front of us immediately, it is very far from us. So that consistently builds a limiting belief. And I'll go back to exposure. Anyone who sees me now sometimes assumed I was probably brought up like this and just feels okay. She has certain privileges. That's why she turned out the way she did. But the truth is, at some point of my life, I made a decision that I was going to go out there and find myself. That's the truth. I made up my mind I was going to go out there and find myself. I was going to be intentional about exposure. I was going to be intentional about knowing things. I started asking about football because I was completely blank. I was like, at least when somebody's having a conversation, I want to
be able to have an intelligent conversation.
That's all. That was my intent. And I started memorizing the name of the players, the clubs, this. And when I get to work, I talk about it, and all of them are looking at me because I have more than. And they're like, you understand? Like they are impressed. So the truth is, for some, it might be politics. You need to know a little bit about all of these things, such that when you get to certain places where you need to maximize the opportunity, you can also show up with that knowledge. You can show up with that resource. You can show up with that capacity to be able to handle what God has prepared for you. Yeah. And the interesting thing is, there are a lot of things that are inside of us as women that we don't explore because we run away from opportunities to explore it.
Somebody said opportunities are dressed in work clothes. So a lot of people don't get them.
They run. In my home church, we have a group where you even have the opportunity to take sessions, to take classes on things you're familiar with. So for example, you're familiar with finances, you can come talk about finances. You're familiar with fashion, you can come talk about fashion. But the moment I approach someone and I'm like, come and handle the session, you can even pick any topic of your choice. The first thing is they run.
They don't want to do the work.
You don't want to do the work because you really have to prepare. Your one fear is that you don't want to disgrace yourself. Good. For you not to disgrace yourself, you'll spend the time doing appropriate preparation. While you are preparing, you are growing capacity.
People
and
don't realize.
It doesn't even end as the WhatsApp group or the Instagram live. It helps you to show up in the business place. It helps you to show up in the workplace. when you have to take presentations, you'll be able to take the presentations beautifully and excellently well, that when decisions have to be made on your behalf, it will be in your favor. Because why? You have showed up visible with that capacity to achieve and attain. That's why it's very, very important to take advantage of every opportunity to show the skills that you have. Yeah. Most of the time we shy away from it. I personally, even with the knowledge that I have sometimes shied away from applying for much higher roles. A very example I'll give was, there was an opportunity for a role 4 levels higher than I currently was. It took me a lot of struggle to even open up someone and say, I want to apply for this job. I can do it. It's something I think I currently do, and it will just be a larger capacity. And I spoke to my immediate boss, and he's like, yes, now go for it. And I'm like, hey. The next thing, he called another person, and all of them were saying, yes, go. But unfortunately, it was late. That particular vacancy had closed. But I learned a lesson that even if I see any role 6 levels higher,
just apply. Yeah.
So that's why it's very important that we don't shy away from opportunities, no matter what they look like. We don't allow our beliefs, our biases, because most of the time we think the bias is from the outside.
Often is from the inside.
From ourselves.
Yeah.
If you can fight that as a young lady, go find Aramide, find inspiration from her. She's 22 now. There are so many young ladies out there doing.
Maybe you mentioned her Instagram handle, because I can actually put that in the show notes so people can actually follow her.
I'll get it.
That'll be awesome.
There are so many young ladies like her doing amazing things. Use that as an inspiration too. And sometimes it's an imposter syndrome. I think you have done a podcast around that. Imposter syndrome kills young ladies a lot. Feeling like they are less than themselves. It is not true. You're a daughter of grace, you're a daughter of power, you're a daughter of favor. You are amazing, you are awesome, you are great. You possess talents, resources, massive opportunities. But if you don't unleash all of these things that you have inside of you, you would be a great dysfunction to the world. Because there are so many people that are dependent on these values, on this greatness that is inside of you. There are so many children who would not be able to go to school because you have not taken up that mantle to find the resources to get them into these schools. So imagine it that way. If your purpose, for example, is to ensure that people are able to have sustenance via meals, via provision of food, and you are just hiding there timid, do you know many people will stay hungry because you have not taken up that mantle? So each time you think about being shy, each time you think about being timid, each time you think about not being visible, each time you think about being shy about collaborations, remember that it's important that you collaborate. It's important that you pick up that mantle such that someone else does not suffer for it. Okay. I'll just first.
That is powerful. Well, you've addressed some really key issues. I know it's so easy to just hide there and say, you know what, I don't want to grow for me. But often it's even beyond us. I always say purpose is beyond us.
It is.
What we've been called to do, what we've been given to do, is because you are enabled to do it. But then it's not about you. It's about the world that you've been called to reach. And so, like you said, if each of us says, I don't want to do it because I just feel like I'm not ready, I'm not capable, somebody is waiting on you. And you're there saying, I'm not capable. Meanwhile, if you will just step up to the plate and begin to maybe grow a little bit more, even step up where as you are, and then refine yourself along the way. Because even growth is a journey.
It's a journey.
It's a journey.
Exactly.
It's a journey.
It's a journey. Every phase, you get to impact lives of the people around you, and it spreads. That's the lovely thing about it. It spreads. When I read, like yesterday was Mother's Day, and a classmate of mine sent me a message, and I was so touched. And I'm like, she was describing me as someone so up there. And I'm like, babe,
you're just me.
But it shows that level of impact because you have them in mind. You're concerned about their growth. You're concerned about them moving from point A to point B. You are intentional about checking on them. Because that's another thing. The fact that you are growing does not mean you leave. No. It's a teamwork. You push everyone around. Yes, some people will resist. But in as much as they do that, time to time, you still check on them. You still remember them in prayers. And at the end of the day, you see them coming back to tell you, thank you. And when people like that find their path and also become great women, great giants, you see, it spreads.
Yeah, they're not able to do the same thing to other people as well.
Exactly. So that's why it's important that you don't slack about your growth. There are phases, there are seasons, there are different teachers for different seasons. So the fact that I love to listen to this person does not mean you have to now also listen to this person. But the fact that I like this particular books does not mean you have to read those books. But it's important that you find your own teacher and know your season. Because there are times where you are really...
let's go there. Know your season. I love that.
There are times where you are so down and you don't want to listen to anything. You don't want to read books. But
and it's fine.
It's okay. It's okay not to be okay.
It's okay not to be okay. It's okay.
Honestly. It's very, very okay not to be okay. But it's just always important to know that even when you're at that season, you keep reminding yourself of who you are. Such that when that phase passes, you jump up and you try. You jump up and you get back on track. You jump up and you keep moving. Because you have to keep accelerating. You have to keep staying in motion. Even when you are at that season, you keep reminding yourself. Affirmations.
So powerful.
It is so powerful. Affirmations brings you out of phases that nothing else, let me use that word, brings you out of. Because there are times where you can't pray. There are times where you can't study. But once you just have those affirmations on your wall and you keep repeating it to yourself over and over and over and over again, you find how awesome, how great, and how powerful it will help you to grow out of that season or phase. But when you are out of them, please remember, stay on track and strive to your peak performance and make sure that you make that impact where you need to be, in the space that you need to be. And don't compromise. Don't compromise. Don't think you're doing too much. Let me just say that. I was speaking to one of my young ladies the other day, and she was like, people are saying I'm doing too much. I'm like...
because sometimes we criticize those that are not doing, they're not doing one thing, they're doing like a couple of things. We're like, how can you be doing that and be doing that and be doing that? Only you.
Thank you. So she was feeling so, because she's young, and she felt so intimidated, kind of, that I'm doing too much. And I had to tell her, you've not even started. You think you're doing
the road is far.
You have not started. You have not started. So if you're someone that has that mindset, that you're doing this, you're doing that, you've not even started. That's how you should see it, because the world has not heard of you. I've not heard of you. So you have not started. So it's very important that you understand how you prioritize what you do, in as much as you're doing a lot. But yes, once you know how to structure it, read things about structure. I can't even get into
You can't overemphasize it. Like
exactly. you have to ensure that you know how to achieve a certain level of balance. And when I mean balance, I'm not saying everything is 100. There are also seasons for different things in your life. So there are times that you have to drop one to focus on the other. Once that one is floating well enough, once you've been able to put in systems in place for it to run, you pick the next thing, and you pick the next thing, and you get people that support you to be able to achieve these things. So that way you can comfortably do as many things as you desire to do, because you have placed systems in place, you have placed order, you have placed structure. Even your family doesn't have to suffer. We are not in that realm anymore.
We must not.
We are not there. So your family sees you as an excellent mother, as an excellent wife, as an excellent daughter. Your job, your career sees you as this great woman of substance. Your business, you are killing it. Even if it started as a side hustle, you have grown it with so much intentionality. You have gone out to source for grants, to source for funds, to expand. You've built yourself a reputation. You've gotten an accountant to make sure that your numbers are in place for you to be able to contest for all of these things that you need to expand. And you are not done. When it comes to impact, you are also making sure that you are replicating yourself in greater amounts and greater heights. And as a spiritual entity, you are also doing phenomenal. No one comes in contact with you and remains the same. Why? Because you carry the power of God inside of you.
Yes.
So once you understand that you can be amazing at all of these things and still be you, still go home and sleep well at night without being concerned about what anyone is saying, then you know that you are growing. So it's important that it is in bits. All of this doesn't happen overnight. No. I always say something, one day at a time, one task at a time. Don't overburden yourself. If it's just 3 goals to pick for the entire month, it's fine. I want to finish reading this book. I want to be able to reach out to this person. I want to be able to mentor this teenager. That's all. It's fine. Make sure you're able to do all of those 3. I think it's just one. I just want to read a book. I've never finished reading a book.
Let me sit down and start reading.
Sit down and start reading. And you realize that immediately you won't read one chapter. Celebrate yourself. Go out there and get yourself ice cream, whatever it is that you love. Read the next chapter and get another one. Read the next chapter. And when you finish, you go on Instagram and talk about the book and say, I'm so excited, I've read this book. There's this positive feeling that it gives you. And you're able to go ahead and read another and another and another.
Wow. I have to give you a clap here. That was powerful. That was growth. And people, please, if you need to know more about all those things she spoke about, I will put her details. We're going to ask her how we can get in touch with her, because this is she's just giving us the surface. Remember we read her bio. She's a growth trigger. I know she works with young ladies, but some of us might be wondering, some of the things that she mentioned, how do we find out more about this? So I will get you her details so that at least you can contact her and she'll be able to, even if she can't, maybe
I'll be able to
you'll be able to refer them to other people.
Like if you need the instructor to help you with your time, I can point you in a particular direction. Even when it comes to boundaries, there are people who help you to create healthy boundaries. Because when I say, okay, I want you to spend this time doing this, but then your mother will just come and open the door, bam.
And just take that time from you.
I know that I say Atiba cook or something. You know, there are ways that we can actually create such
boundaries around this.
Even with your family members, such that they know that it's 9 o'clock. You can't go there. No, you can't open.
They will not open the door for you.
Your mother will be fighting that. You know you cannot open that door. So it's important. Even with your spouse, everyone knows 10 o'clock is my personal time, and nobody disturbs you until it's 10:15 or it's 10:30. So it's important. So if you have issues, if you feel you have the most tough family members or even office, everything, you can set boundaries everywhere with your finance. there are coaches out there who can
Yeah.
support you with all of those things. So just ask for help and receive it and use it.
Wow. You've spoken about so much, and I can even go on and on, because there's just if we start dissecting this one, we'll be here till tomorrow. So we're not going to dissect. We'll just leave it there and reserve it for another time. But I'm going to just ask you, thank you so much for everything that you've shared. It's been really, really, really good. Even for me, I'm going to go back, listen again. A lot of tips. So what would be your last words to our viewers? Let me say it this way. Maybe like 2 practical things that can help them get onto that journey of growth, because we know it's a journey. Like 2 practical things maybe that can just help them start from where they are right now, no matter where they are, to start off on that journey of growth.
Okay, so number 1, I would say just get a coach, because for me, that was my own turning point.
It's so key.
Like,
it's
so now, I think I have almost like 6 or 7 coaches, people that I reach out to for
different things.
Like I said, I mentioned structure, I mentioned boundaries, even with peak performance. Recently I was talking to my coach and he said, "You are not yet running at your peak." I said, "I know."
I'm on the way.
Exactly. Because of course there are seasons. So there are times that yes, you are there. But there are times that you also need help to stay there. And you also need help to stay consistent. So it's important, get a coach. Whatever phase you are, I really can't tell. If you're at the beginning stage, you are trying to find purpose. Mommy is here. So please just find her and go the journey. It's very important. If you feel you have found purpose, your purpose is in line with social impact, find a coach in that aspect. Your purpose is in line with career. You just want to stay in career and excel
the
at
career
it.
coach.
Also, find a career coach. You want to stay in business and excel at it. Find a business coach. Your finances are in the mud. You are not responsible for your finances. Your numbers are up. You're in debt. Find a finance coach. Stabilize your money. So there are so many areas, and it's so beautiful how we have so many coaches in all of these areas. Your emotional intelligence. You're going through a particular hurt. Someone broke your heart. You lost someone. Find a coach that can support you, because you have to come out of that phase to be able to even grow and to grow authentically. That's another thing. To grow truly. You're not trying to paint another person's growth upon yourself because you admire this mentor, you admire this model. You are now painting your life after that. You are doing everything they are doing. No, you actually lose yourself that way. That's why you have to start from purpose. It is in God that you know who you are. So you start from purpose and journey through. So second practical thing, do all your coaches' assignments. If you can do those
I love it.
I don't think you have problem, honestly. Because
I love it.
Just do the assignment. Because doing the assignment means you are applying what you've learned.
Yeah.
That's the truth. Do the assignment. Don't run away. Even if you pay, make sure you do the assignment. Because there are some people that will pay and they will not still follow.
And they won't. That's the thing. Some people do that. So it's like, why did you pay when you knew that you were not going to commit to doing it?
So if you need to get an accountability partner, you need to get someone that will collect your car key and say, until you achieve that
I won't give
goal,
it to you.
I won't give it to you. If it's your house document that you have to go and lock up somewhere, until you get it sorted out. So find something that you know is of value to you, that you can use to challenge yourself, to punish yourself, that until you achieve this, you won't get it. Trust me, your brain will set and you will get it done.
Wow. Thank you so much. I want to say a big thank you to Temitope. I'm sure you're going to enjoy this episode. I know already I'm going to enjoy it because I'm going to listen, I'm going to watch it, I'm going to enjoy it. Thank you so much for being such a blessing to us. Hopefully we're going to have you again another time for a different topic, but to do with growth, because growth is just so large. You can't
Wide.
even, you're so wide, you can't dissect it all at once. So thank you. And viewers, I will see you again next week. Thank you for being here and thanks for enjoying.